Sorry, it's still loading up. Bear with me. Right, we should be live now.
Okay.
Just double check on my other laptop. Sorry, it's yeah, we're live, chat.
Okay, good evening and welcome to everyone. This is our informal cabinet held on the 16th December 2021. This informal virtual meeting is being live streamed. It will also be recorded and the recording subsequently made available via the council's website. In addition, under the Local Authorities Executive Arrangements, Meetings and Access to Information England Regulations 2012, other people may film, record, tweet, or blog from this meeting. The use of any such images or recordings is not under the council's control. Please note that members of the public viewing the meeting via the live stream can only see the person who is speaking. Can I ask all councillors and all participants to mute at this moment, apart from myself? If you aren't muted, the risk is that the video of you suddenly becomes live rather than actually the person that's speaking. Councillor Seaton. Just pause.
What was that you were inviting me to?
If you could go on mute, there we go. That's great. Otherwise, if you're not muted, the system unfortunately broadcasts you to the world. So that's great. Okay, so look, have I mentioned that you can live tweet? I think I probably have. Please note, members of the public viewing the meeting can only see the person who is speaking, which is me at the moment. Also that it takes a second or two for Zoom to switch between views. So by all means, please pause for a little bit before you start speaking. And participants should ensure that the microphone is muted, as I mentioned, when you're not speaking. So look, I'm going to run through who's actually present, and then I will first off talk to councillors, then officers, and finally also our other guest, Councillor Seaton. So I'm going to ask all of you verbally if you can say that you're present and that you can see and hear proceedings. So I can obviously see and hear. Councillor Barclay, how about you?
Good evening, Leader. I'm present. I can see and hear.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Bailey.
Good evening, Leader. I can both see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much. Councillor Boker.
Yes, I'm here and I can see and hear, I think.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harper-Davies.
Good evening, Leader. I can see and hear all the proceedings.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Mercer.
Can see and hear.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Poland.
Good evening, Leader. I can hear and see proceedings.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Rattray.
Evening, Leader. Yes, I can see and hear the proceedings this evening.
Thank you very much. We have apologies for Councillor Rawlings. So we're on to our final councillor in Cabinet, which is Councillor Smitovich. Are you there, Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Leader. Yes, I can see and hear you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Councillor. So there are 9 out of 10 of Cabinet here. So I'm now going to move on to officers and other attendees. Again, likewise, if you can verbally tell me that you are present and that you can actually see and hear the proceedings. So we're going to start off with our Chief Exec, Rob Mitchell.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'm present and I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Chief Executive. Simon Jackson is our Strategic Director, Environmental and Corporate Services and Section 151 Officer.
Thank you, Leader. I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Simon. Adrian Ward, Head of Strategic Support and Monitoring Officer.
Thank you, Leader. I can see and hear the proceedings.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Justin Henry, Strategic Director, Commercial Development, Assets and Leisure.
Thank you, Leader. I can both see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Justin. Peter Oliver, Head of Landlord Services.
Thank you, Leader. I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Peter. Alan Twells, Head of Regulatory Services. So I rolled my R's there, apologies.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I can confirm I can hear and see proceedings.
Thank you very much, Alan. Richard Bennett, Head of Planning and Regeneration.
Thank you, Leader. I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Richard. Sylvia Wright, I think, is joining us very shortly. I can't see her at the list at the moment.
She is here now, Lisa.
Ah, fantastic, Sylvia. Perfect. So Sylvia Wright, our head of leisure and culture. Good evening, Sylvia.
Good evening. Yes, I was a little late, but thank you. I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Good to see you. Leslie Tansey, our head of financial services.
Good evening. Yes, I can hear and see proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Kerry Barnshaw, head of customer experience. I know you're here, Kerry.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I can hear and see proceedings.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kerry. Claire Clark, group leader, plans, policies and policy making. Claire, good evening.
Good evening. I'm present. I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much. Ed Brown. Ed, I know you're definitely up there. Democratic Services Officer.
Chair, I can see and hear proceedings.
Thank you very much, Ed. And then finally, looking after us and making sure that we do everything correctly, Laura Strong, Democratic Services Officer. Hello, Laura.
Hello, Leader. I can see and hear proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then finally, leaving the best till last, Councillor Seaton, who's our Chair of Scrutiny Commission. Good evening, Councillor.
Good evening, Leader, and good evening, all members. I can see and hear proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, that part is done. We're now on to the main substance of the meeting. We have quite a few items this evening, so we will start by rolling through the first few, which are hopefully reasonably straightforward. Item 1, apologies. I've mentioned we've got apologies from Councillor Rollings. We have no other apologies. Item 2, disclosure of pecuniary and personal interests. So I think we have 3 members who are going to disclose pecuniary and personal interests over item 10. I am one of those. I'm director of the bid, so I'm going to leave the meeting for item 10. 2 other councillors were, I think, Councillor Ratway and Councillor Boker. Would you like to declare yourselves?
If I go first, so I am a director of Loughborough, so yeah, part of the bid, so I'll be stepping away at that point in the meeting.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Boker, likewise?
Yes, equally a director of the bid, so I will be stepping away.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other declarations that anyone needs to make? Again, if we can use the yellow hands, that would be useful. I can't see any hands up, so in which case there are no more declarations, which is great. Thank you very much. So we now move on to item 3, which is leaders' announcements. There are no announcements, so we're now on to item 4, minutes of the previous meeting. So the meeting took place on the 1st of July 2021, at the beginning of the summer. Hopefully everyone's read through the minutes and they accord with your recollection of the meeting. So we do need to quickly run through and confirm that everyone's happy. I'm happy with those minutes. Councillor Barclay, are you happy?
Sorry,
Sorry. It's because we're informal, isn't it?
Yeah, so because we're informal, we'll send those through to the next meeting for the Cabinet for approval.
Laura, thank you very much, as ever. Okay. Thumbs down. We don't have to actually confirm them all now. Okay, we'll take them to the next meeting in that case. So we're now on to item 5, which questions under Cabinet Procedure 10.7. There was a question received from a Mr. Hunt, which has been published together with a response. I understand that Mr. Hunt has been advised that he's allowed a follow-up question, but has decided not to attend the meeting. So we now move on to item 6, which is the Tenancy Policy 2021-2025. We do have an HAB verbal report, which I think Trish, I know, is unable to be with us this evening. So I think there are going to be some notes from Peter Oliver in relation to some of the comments that came out of HMAB. As always, we're taking reports as read. But we do have, obviously, Peter Oliver here, who's available to summarize the report briefly. and also likewise for any questions of clarity. I'm going to ask Councillor Poland whether you'd like to introduce the report very briefly before I then pass back to Peter, who can follow on with some further comments. So, Councillor Poland.
Thank you, Leader. This updated tenancy policy will deliver on our commitment to introduce flexible tenancies, our manifesto commitment to do that. In doing so, we'll provide another mechanism for recovering possession of properties where serious ASB has occurred, and we'll be making best use of our most valuable housing stock, reducing in the long term the time that people will need in 4 beds, plus adapted accommodation will have to wait for. As part of this approach, tenants will be provided with support to succeed within their tenancies and, where appropriate, to find alternative accommodation that better suits their needs. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Poland. If I can pass over to Peter. Peter, are there any other additional points that you wish to make about the report that you feel that we should know?
Thank you, Leader. The Chair of the Housing Management Advisory Board has asked me to convey to you the following: that the HMAB considered the tenancy policy at its meeting on the 12th of May 2021. The board heard that the policy promotes a targeted use of fixed-term tenancies to prevent ASB, whereby prospective tenants with a history of serious ASB will be offered a fixed-term tenancy of 2 years, commencing after the 12-month introductory tenancy period. If there's serious ASB, then the council could make a decision not to issue a new tenancy at the end of the 2-year fixed term. The board also heard that fixed term tenancies would be used to support the best use of housing stock, as Councillor Poland has identified. The board was provided with assurances that throughout the period of the fixed term tenancy, advice and support would be offered to tenants on the conduct of the tenancy and rehousing options as appropriate, that household vulnerability would be considering when making a decision not to renew a tenancy at the same address, and that each case would be considered on its own merits. The board were generally supportive of the policy, which was noted.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. In addition to the HMAB report, are there any other points that you wish to make as well?
No, thank you, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Okay, can I ask Cabinet whether there are any questions that you wish to raise or any statements that you wish to make about the report? Okay, I can't see any hands going up and I can't see anyone waving at me. So in which case, as said, the report has been taken as read. It's a pretty full and self-explanatory report. We've heard from the HMAB committee chair, Trish, who again has obviously discussed this report. So I'm going to go back to Councillor Poland at this moment to summarise and move the officer recommendation 1 and 2 for the reasons 1 and 2 on agenda page 12, which obviously also to note the HMAB report just presented by Peter. And obviously this will be a recommendation to me to make a decision on behalf of Cabinet. So back to Councillor Poland.
Thank you, Leader. At the risk of repeating you, I recommend that you go for options, recommendations 1 and 2 for the reasons 1 and 2, all on page 12 of our agenda pack.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I ask Councillor Boker whether she wishes to second?
I do, Leader, because I think this is a very good policy, especially flexible tenancies. So I'm very happy to second this.
Thank you very much, Councillor. So I'm going to ask each of Cabinet to ask whether they are verbally happy or to confirm verbally whether they're happy to proceed with the recommendation to me as leader to approve on Cabinet's behalf. So Councillor Barclay.
Happy to approve, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
Happy to approve, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
Happy to approve, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Harper-Davies.
Happy to proceed with recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mercer.
Happy to approve, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Poland.
To approve, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ratway.
Happy to approve, Leader.
Thank you very much. And then finally, Councillor Smitovich.
Mute.
You're off mute now.
Yeah, no, yes, finally. Yes, happy to approve.
Thank you very much. I'm having problems with a sticky mute key as well, Councillor, so you're not the only one. It's definitely the technology. It's not me. It's definitely the technology. Don't worry. We're innocent on this one, I think. Okay, look, that's everyone. So thank you very much, and I will proceed to make a decision on Cabinet's behalf in relation to that item. So thank you very much, and thank you very much, Peter, for presenting on that particular item. And you're staying with us because item 7, we have the draft new tenancy agreement for council homes. Likewise, we have an HMAB verbal report from Trish Edwards' board. So this time, if I can ask you, Peter, to make the verbal report on the HMAB, and then we'll follow up with a quick summary from Councillor Poland before any questions to you after that. So over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Leader. The board heard that it was good practice for landlords to update their tenancy agreement on a periodic basis to reflect current legislation and to support a robust approach to tenancy management. This is a key document that defines the relationship between the council and its tenants, and after full consideration, the board did recommend a number of amendments, which I'm pleased to say have been incorporated into the final draft. The board was supportive of the draft new tenancy agreement, both noting and commending it to Cabinet.
Thank you very much, Peter. Councillor Poland, can I go over to you now?
Thank you, Leader. The draft updated conditions of tenancy have been considered by tenants at the Housing Management Advisory Board, and I know that it was also well received at the Charnwood Housing Residents Forum as well. The next step is for the draft agreement to be issued to the council's 5,500 tenants, so that we can be assured that when it's implemented, what is already a robust and cohesive document will have been shaped by the views of tenants and will build on already strong landlord-tenant relationship. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Poland. Okay, are there any questions that anyone wishes to raise? Again, taking the report as read. It's a pretty comprehensive report, and we have obviously received briefings. We've got Councillor Mercer. Your hand is up. Over to you.
Yes, can I ask, the implication is that it will increase our ability to take action on antisocial behaviour, but the actual summary doesn't quite say that, and I was just wondering if an extra word has crept in. On the top of page 44, it states the draft new tenancy agreement contains terms which will enhance support the council's ability, which I didn't quite understand. Has the word support crept in there? Because if that's taken out, then it does make sense.
Thank you, Leader. If I may respond.
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Yes, I think potentially it could be either enhance or support. So you are correct. It's a typo, but in any event, the intention is the same.
So it does actually enhance our ability to take enforcement action. That's what we're saying. Is that correct?
I think it's clear. I think it's a clearer conditions of tenancy to that which we currently employ. It leaves people in no doubt that we use all available tools and powers to tackle ASB.
That's good.
I think, Leader, we're having mute problems. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry, apologies. I am genuinely having problems with the mute button this evening. So I blame Zoom on this one. It's definitely not me. So, Councillor Mercer, you still got your hand up. Have you got a further question or not?
The only question was, how do I lower it? And I've worked it out.
Okay, that's fine in that case. We haven't used this technology for such a long time. That's trouble. It's terrible, isn't it? Okay. Actually, it's quite good, actually, that we've forgotten how to use this technology. I have to say that there's something quite nice about forgetting. Councillor Smitovich, you've got your hand up. You've worked out how to put the hand up.
A question, if I may. Antisocial behaviour isn't always the perpetrator within the property, but this morning we had occasion for 2 instances where CCTV came up in a conversation and trying to supply some money to the particular women in 2 separate properties. And I was wondering, do we actually supply any CCTV where we know that there are particularly vulnerable people in specific houses, in social housing?
Leader, may I respond?
Yeah, yes, please. I was trying to unmute. Sorry, apologies. Yes, please do, Peter.
Thank you. So we do have CCTV, but we would have to go through a process under RIPA legislation in order to undertake directed and targeted surveillance. So there is CCTV out there covering estates, but in order to use that in a different way, there's a process that we'd have to go through in order to do that. And the threshold for us to do that targeted surveillance is actually quite high as well. So it's very rare. I'm not aware of any particular instances where it's been deployed in that respect, certainly in recent years.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Boker.
Thank you, Leader. A question to Peter. I'm not sure if it's in the content of the report, but one of the issues I understand with ASB from tenants to other individuals who might live nearby them is proving their ASB actions. So I'm thinking of maybe drug abuse, for instance, and that obviously when an officer visits or the police visits, it's sometimes not occurring, and therefore how do you prove it? And I do think victims of our ASB need to be advised on how they can collect evidence and the role. I know the local councillor has a role in this, in being a witness to that evidence, but I know of one situation where the victim was not given any advice about how he or she could collect evidence in a manner that proved that drug abuse was occurring.
Peter.
We should provide direction to people in respect of how they may well assist us to take action in relation to antisocial behaviour. I think I know the case that you're referring to, so perhaps I might respond to you outside of the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions? Okay, I can't see any further hands up, so I'm going to go back to Councillor Poland to make the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. I recommend that you go for recommendations 1, 2 and 3 for reasons 1, 2 and 3, all on page 42 of our agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're noting the HMAB verbal report as well. And again, this is a recommendation to me to make the decision on behalf of Cabinet after the meeting. So I'm going to ask Councillor Mercer whether you're happy to second.
I am indeed, Leader, happy to second.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to ask all of you again whether you're verbally confirm whether you're happy to propose that I make the decision on your behalf. Councillor Barclay.
Happy to agree the decision, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Leader. Happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Boker.
Happy to support.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harper-Davies.
Happy to proceed with recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mercer.
Happy to support, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Poland.
Very happy to support, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ratway.
Happy to support the recommendations.
And then finally, thank you very much. Finally, Councillor Smitovich.
Yes, happy to support, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, I will make the decision on behalf of Cabinet to support this recommendation. So thank you very much for that. Okay, we're now on to item 8, which is the corporate ASB and hate incident policy 2021 to 2025. We also have a scrutiny commission report associated with this item. So I'm going to start by asking Councillor Seaton to present the scrutiny commission report. And then afterwards, I will ask Cabinet whether there are any questions of clarity that they wish to ask Councillor Seaton before we move on to the main item. So over to you, Councillor Seaton.
Thank you, Leader. Members praised this policy whilst recognising the many facets covered within it. But what did emerge from the discussion was the need for an information leaflet to be produced to distribute to members so that they can display in appropriate places throughout their communities. The public may be targeting areas that have experienced ASB heavily in that area. It was also noted that the ASB training pilot that was very advantageous to members, and it was hoped that this would be available to all members in the near future. Therefore, the Commission welcomes and supports the report and recommends that it should be supported by the Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Are there any questions of clarity? Councillor Harper-Davies, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I just really wanted to mention a couple of other things which I think Councillor Seaton, not sure whether she's managed to incorporate. And that was the community trigger process was one, and that's the local council being unable to be part of the process if they if it's appropriate for the person involved in the community trigger. The laminated card she's already mentioned, which is a really good idea. And I think we discussed the accessibility of the webs or CBC ASB website. So I think there's other couple of things that we just need to pop in there as well, if that's okay, Leader.
I think these were all covered in the notes.
Yeah,
no, I didn't want to read the whole notes out. I'm sure you didn't want to listen to the whole notes either.
I think there were very pertinent points as well, Councillor Seaton, from one of our colleagues. I think it's really important that we consider those too. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Yep, thank you very much for that. Look, thank you very much. Are there any other points of clarification to Councillor Seaton? Councillor Smilovich, you've got your hand up. You're on mute, Councillor. We're struggling this evening, both of us.
I don't know whether it was covered, but it probably is more of the devil being in the detail. But when sometimes you might have noise report, but you could also have other incidents within the same property of something similar, noise, violence, all sorts of things. Is there going to be a method of recording? Was it discussed, a method of recording almost a house? So it's the incident, but the house. So that might be a little bit too much detail for this discussion, but it would be helpful to know. So
Councillor, at the moment, we're just on points of clarification on the Scrutiny Commission report.
Right.
Is that about the general report rather than actually the Scrutiny Commission report? Okay, right. So any other points of clarity on the Scrutiny Commission report? No other questions of clarity. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, Councillor Seaton, thank you very much for your report. I'm now, we have, because this covers at the moment, ASB obviously covers 3 significant sections within the authority. We actually have 2 of those sections here this evening. Peter Oliver, who's Head of Landlord Services, Alan Twells, who's Head of Regulatory Services, to assist with the report. But it also covers 3 council leads as well. So we have Councillor Poland, Councillor Harper-Davies, and Councillor Ratway, who are obviously lead members for the respective areas that the ASB teams operate in. Councillor Harper-Davies, you're also chair of the Community Safety Partnership. So I'm going to ask you whether there are any additional points that you wish to make in relation to this report before opening up for general discussion beyond the 2 officers. So over to you, Councillor Harper-Davies.
Thank you, Leader. I'm just going to give an introduction, actually. So on behalf of Councillor Poland, Rattray and myself, The council's existing ASB policy, which is an overall arching policy, relates solely to the delivery of the council's landlord function. While some minor amendments have been made over the past few years, the policy has not significantly been updated since the management of the council stock return from the ALMO organisation in 2012. Looking at the range of services involved in preventing and managing ASB, it is desirable to introduce this new policy with a broader scope, setting out a more corporate basis, the council's responsibilities around ASB and hate incidents, and bringing the teams together under a clear policy framework for the delivery of services in this respect. The policy reflects best practice principles and places victims and communities at the heart of the process. The policy gives appropriate weight to the importance of the initial risk assessment and the range of factors that have a significant bearing on the harm index, including substance misuse, vulnerability, mental health, and persistent ASB. Hate incidents. The policy contains definition of a hate incident which aligns with the Leicestershire Police's recording of hate crime. This policy falls under the LLR strategy statement for tackling hate, and which individually is taken and managed on its own merits. The council worked closely with the police in the management of ASB and hate incidents and participates in a hate incident monitoring scheme coordinated by County Council. The policy sets out how we will address the above by working with our partners to strive to ensure Charnwood is a safe place to live. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor. Obviously, we've got Councillor Poland and Councillor Ratway here as well, so any points that they wish to raise, please do. Can I quickly ask Peter Oliver and Alan Twells whether there are any additional points that you wish to draw out from the report itself? Should we start with Peter?
Nothing further from me, thank you, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much. Alan.
Just a point from me, Leader, just to say that obviously this is a coordinated policy that's been drew together across the teams, so all teams were involved in the development of this particular policy.
Thank you very much for that, Alan. Points of general information. So, Councillor Phillips, you may wish to come back in at this moment. Councillor Boker, you had your hand up first, so I'm going to go over to you next for any questions in relation to the paper itself, the item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leader. Page 120, 121. There are two stages with dealing with ASB. One is the non-legal stage and the other is the legal stage. Just as a rough guide, how often do we get to the legal stage? So in other words, do we ever get to the point of prosecution or fixed penalty notices or anything like that? Because I think everything's recorded on Sentinel. And if I go back to the case I was discussing earlier, there was very, very limited information recorded on that system. And in both situations, the reports of antisocial behaviour had been opened and then closed immediately, almost. So what I'm trying to say is, how effective is this going to be?
Should we try Peter first on the basis that there's a point that you know about?
Yeah. The vast majority of ASB cases are resolved using non-legal interventions. Of course, you do need the ASB to reach a particular threshold, which is often defined in legislation or statute, in order to progress something to a legal stage. So that will be dependent on the level of evidence and the harm caused by the ASB. In respect of the effectiveness of the policy, this is a policy that's based on best practice, and it will provide us with gives us it opens up use of all of the tools and powers that we've got that are available to us in order to tackle ASB. And I'd add finally as well that in terms of the amount of legal action that we do, we're very comparable to other local authorities in that respect as well. So we do benchmark our activity.
Okay, thank you very much.
Leader, can I just ask a follow-up question, please?
Yeah, sure. I was going to ask actually whether Alan wanted to add anything, but
Oh,
you
well,
can come on with your
Alan
follow-up and
first.
then I'll go through.
Well, my follow-up is that, you know, people who do antisocial behaviour are quite clever at evading, you know, people calling or people trying to gather evidence of what's going on. And what I'm trying to say is that I've watched programmes on television where the dealing of antisocial behaviour is very robust by certain councils. And I suppose my question is how robust are we? It's a bit of a general question, but, you know, do we really, really go out of our way to prove these antisocial behaviour situations?
Yes, and my view is that we are robust as well. You know, we were the first local authority in Leicestershire to obtain a closure order under the ASB Crime and Policing Act. We deploy, you know, legal interventions like that on a regular basis. So my view is that we are robust and we are effective.
Well, Alan, is there anything you want to add on any of that?
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, just to say, obviously, the policy does outline the vast array of different ASB that comes under the policy. So there is a significant legislation that we deal with and cases that we investigate. And we do escalate things up to legal action, fixed penalty notices, the like fly tipping cases, which can be antisocial behaviour, litter cases, which can be antisocial behaviour, as well as other cases. But like Peter says, we do deal with it robustly. We liaise across teams and we take appropriate action when it's needed. But obviously it is an escalated approach before getting to the legal action, and predominantly the majority of cases will be dealt with at an informal level, which is in line with the policy.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Smitovich, you've got a question.
Yes, I'm sorry about this. I partly asked it before, but I'm pleased with the policy. Please don't get me wrong, quite happy with that. And officers know how strongly I've felt about this over the years. But I understand what Peter's saying, and I don't know whether he was talking specifically about social housing. But it is really heartbreaking when you know that there are cases recorded on one piece of equipment in one area, but then another area will say there have been no problems, and you know full well there have been problems. So it comes back to the cross communication, and I don't know, quite hesitate to say it too much. I'm trying to choose my words. It's the central recording of different types. So you might get noise from a particular house on your left, but on the right, you might have a different sort of noise because you've got 100 young people gathering at a house, but you're the house stuck in the middle. And then you're told there have been no problems because the noise was not recorded. But then, as I've said to people, between certain hours, you will phone the police to come at night time. But in the daytime, if it's persistent noise, you go to another department. And it's that fragmentation of different complaints that go to different areas. So my question is, do we now have a central base where every department can record about against a house number? We've got the GIS system with a house number, that there are particular complaints about that house, whether it's noise, whether it's dustbins, whether it's violence or whatever, so that we build a picture of the house and the people in it.
Alan, should I come to you? Because I think that mostly relates to things that come under you.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I mean, obviously the overarching policy talks about coordinated approach across the different teams and liaison with the police, and that's you know, effectively what we try to do. You know, it does work well within the council, and it is, you know, very effective. You know, I work across the teams, and that has improved significantly over the last number of years, and liaison with the police. In terms of the central recording, At the moment, we're looking at the ASB review, as I'm sure you're aware, and looking at how we can improve things in terms of our recording of incidents and how they are dealt with, and make sure they're done in a coordinated way. And so where there is a problem in a particular locality, which you're talking about, really, we can identify those and escalate those up as necessary. In terms of the evidence gathering, the standards will be the same in terms of evidence gathering. Obviously we do need evidence of a particular problem to be able to identify that. And that's why I have these coordinated approaches with the police as well, to try and make sure we pick up any ongoing problems in a particular locality, and we can review and escalate those up to the police or to other agencies as necessary. But I certainly believe that this is, we're in a stronger position now, and moving forward we'll be in a better position for reporting incidents and then dealing with those incidents.
Thank you. I feel somewhat encouraged, Alan.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm looking to see whether there are no other questions. Just very briefly, is there anything that Councillor Ratway or Councillor Poland, whether there's anything you actually want to add? Obviously, that's comes under crosses over between your respective areas as well. No, I can see shakes of heads. No, okay, that's great.
More to add.
So, okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go back in that case to Councillor Harper-Davies. If you'd like to move the recommendation noting the Scrutiny Commission report, then we will go to a seconder.
Thank you, Leader. So can I put forward the recommendations of the report on part A on page 1 and 2, and for the reasons 1 and 2 set out? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And obviously noting the Scrutiny Commission's report and some of the items that you mentioned earlier on. This is obviously also going to be another recommendation to me to make a decision on behalf of Cabinet. But I'm going to ask now whether Councillor Poland, whether you would like to actually second this before we go to a vote.
Yes, please, Leader. I will second that motion.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, so I'm going to go through everyone. If you could verbally confirm that you're happy for me to make a decision on behalf of Cabinet. So Councillor Barclay.
I'm for the proposal, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Leader. Happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harper-Davies.
Happy to support the recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Mercer.
Happy to support.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Poland.
Happy to support the recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Ratway.
Happy to support the recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Smitovich at the end.
Very happy to support the recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much. Okay, I will make the recommendation in favour on behalf of Cabinet. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to Peter and also to Alan as well. So we're now on to item 9, which is the carbon neutral plan towards 2030. Likewise, we have a Scrutiny Commission report for this item. So I'm going to go over now to Councillor Seaton to present the report on behalf of the Scrutiny Commission. Before we go on to any questions of clarity to Councillor Seaton on the Scrutiny Commission's report itself, and then we'll go to a wider debate. So over to you, Councillor Seaton.
Thank you very much, Leader. As you can see from the discussion notes, the depth of questions and the responses, they reflected the Commission's and the Council's view of the importance of this plan in succeeding. The Council's plan on carbon reduction was somewhat stalled by COVID-19 and only showed a small reduction. But throughout the following discussion, the Commission was left in no doubt of Charnwood Council's commitment towards future carbon reductions and eventual carbon neutrality. The Commission was pleased to note that there were plans to encourage businesses in the borough and organisations to cut their emissions as well. There was a lot of plans there, and the Commission was satisfied and welcomes and supports the report and recommends that it should be supported by the Cabinet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Seaton. Are there any questions of clarity that anyone wishes to ask Councillor Seaton? No questions. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Councillor Seaton, for your report. Glad to hear the Scrutiny Commission so passionate about this item. I think all of us are. It makes a huge impact on the way that we work, but I think it also sends out an extraordinarily clear message to everyone as well. So that's great. Look, we've got Richard Bennett, who's our Head of Planning and Regeneration, and also Claire Clark, who's our Group Plans Leader, Policies and Placemaking here to help with the report. So I'm going to ask Councillor Rawlings is obviously the lead for this, but he's away at the moment. So Councillor Barclay, who also sits on the Carbon Management Board, is going to open this item on his behalf. So over to you, Councillor Barclay, if you'd like to say a few words before we then open up to general discussion.
Thank you, Leader. We've been working on this for many years now, and up until 2020, we've actually achieved a 37% reduction in carbon emissions, which is significant. So over the last 2 years, that has slowed to 3%, mainly because the really big projects that we've done have run out, and we're now down to having to look more in detail. Everything we're doing in the council considers carbon neutrality. And as Councillor Seaton said, we had a very in-depth discussion at scrutiny. I would expect going forward, everything we do will consider carbon neutrality. The baseline has been re-established for the new carbon plan. The plan itself has been commissioned from consultants, and it has been before the board and challenged. We are really going to concentrate on the waste fleet we're looking at, or transport, what emissions we have in our buildings, and investigating a solar farm and zero carbon gas tariffs. I can't emphasize strongly enough that it is a whole council activity. We have green award schemes, which all councillors and all staff can partake in. We are very committed to this, and the plan is set out to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030, and we will do exactly that. And we've got Claire Clark and Richard Bennett here, both of whom are certainly more knowledgeable than me on this issue, and I will just pass over to them if they have anything else to say.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Indeed, Richard and Claire, is there anything else that you wish to add?
Through you, Lydia, there's not really much more to say than what Councillor Barclay has already said, and Councillor Seaton has told us from the scrutiny discussion the other day. I think it's fair to say that the carbon neutral board has given the plan a thorough review. Obviously, it was prepared and delivered to the council just at the point that we were going into the pandemic, and as a consequence of that, the board didn't feel it was the right time to submit a plan to the cabinet, and has asked the consultants to go away and look again at the plan in light of the changed working arrangements that we've now got at the council with agile working, and the thinking the council has around its future estate strategy and those sorts of things. So the plan that you've got before you tonight has gone away and looked again at what the plan should be going forward to achieve that carbon neutrality, and it's a much more flexible plan as well. So members can be assured that this plan is fit for purpose as we stand at the moment. But of course, the Carbon Neutral Board will continue to monitor and review the plan, and will revise the action plan as circumstances change going forward. I think that should provide some comfort to the council that it's not a one-hit wonder. This thing needs to be monitored and reviewed as it goes forward. And as Councillor Barclay said, this isn't something that can be one person's responsibility. It is the whole council's responsibility. And by that token, the plan seeks to coordinate action from across the council, from all the various different service areas, to help achieve the actions and the goals that are in the plan. With that in mind, I don't think I want to labour any more about it. I think if members have got questions, and I'm sure there will be some, I'll be very happy to assist with those, and indeed Claire as well. So thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much for that, Richard. Right, we've already got one hand up as well. Claire, was there anything else in addition to Richard? Are you quite happy to come in and answer all the questions, all the difficult questions? Yeah, I thought that would be the case. Richard's probably allowed you to do the hard bit, hasn't he? Okay, so look, Councillor Ratway, you've got your hand up. So a really decent technical question for Claire to answer, no doubt.
Thank you. It's in relation to the waste fleet. So I understand that that's one of our most significant problems. And obviously we've taken out a new fleet in 2019. So our chances of changing that are going to come really close to our target date. Are we looking to trial electric vehicles in the meantime prior to that date, so that when it comes round to our changeover fleet, we know exactly what it is that we want and we can go ahead and make that decision as quickly as possible?
Okay, so Claire, what do you like on fleet management?
Sorry, Leader, I was going to have a go at answering that.
Go on then, Richard.
I got caught by the mute button. Sorry, and I couldn't find my hand. Yes, it's a good question, Councillor Rattray. The fleet was replaced before this plan was finalised. Obviously, the vehicles that were available on the market at the time that contract was secured, the range of electric fleet vehicles wasn't sufficient to carry the amount of waste that we have and the way that we work in the borough. But what we did do was ensure that those were the most environmentally efficient Euro 6 vehicles that we could get using diesel fuel. Nevertheless, the plan does envisage us trialling fleet vehicles through the course of the project, and also looking to see where we can replace other fleet vehicles that we own, you know, the vans and the other smaller vehicles that we've got for electric vehicles as we go forward. So the contribution that there is likely to be from electrification of the waste fleet is very minimal, I'd suggest, through this plan, but it might come in at the back end. I don't know whether Claire wants to offer anything else to that.
No, just to say that the plan that's presented isn't reliant on that. So it's taken on board the fact that we have got a fleet that's fairly recently been purchased, and so there isn't a reliance on us replacing that fleet with electric vehicles by the end of this period.
Okay, Chief Exec, you had your hand up very briefly at one moment. Was there anything else that you wanted to know?
Yes, thank you, Leader. Just very briefly to add to my colleagues' comments, we are trialling a number of electric vehicles in not necessarily the waste fleet, but the other types of vehicles that we operate as a council. And my understanding is that as we get closer to that renewal date for the fleet, that we will be trialling the waste vehicles as well. And clearly we'll be able to watch other councils over the next few years as they start to trial those sorts of vehicles as well. So we will be keeping an eye on it, and the plan will be to move the fleet to that end. But as we've heard, the plan is not reliant on that. So that should be an additional thing that we can do on top. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Councillor Harper-Davies, I think you're possibly going to say something on that as well.
Yes, thank you, Leader. To reiterate, really, we have several smaller road sweepers that are electric. I think it's because it was based on cost, and whether you're aware that the electric vehicles are about not alone providing the tonnage, but they're over £300,000 per vehicle. So obviously we weren't in a position as then to consider the electrical the actual refuse vehicles that collect our refuse. But I think it's certainly on the agenda, but it's just the cost when we actually went to purchase the fleet. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Okay, so Councillor Smitherich, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, oh, the mute's working better. Just to say that I attended a local government event today, a local government association event, I should say, and this topic was quite popular, and they gave a presentation I did try to take some photographs of it as I went through, but what they've come up with, I think it's Greater Manchester may have piloted it, but it's a local authority toolkit, and it's sort of aimed at generic staff, leadership and management, elected members, parish councils, community leaders, and more. But it's very much urging that councillors get involved with their communities and sort of spread the word amongst their various wards. But it's also might be something I look at under the training and development, but it's also certificated because you can do it in modules. And I think it's been piloted quite well, and it's peer-to-peer, but you can also have outside trainers. But it's very much not the big stuff. It's more geared to the wards and sort of, encouraging people, but being knowledgeable about the encouragement you're giving, all the details. So I'm going to try and, see if I can find out a bit more on that.
Okay, thank you very much. I can see Richard Bennett shaking nodding his head rather. So anything you find, it was going up and down.
Yes.
Anything you find, if you can send it over to Richard, that would be great. Thanks.
You're most welcome, and reflect the actions we've got in our plan to do community outreach and to help members in their leadership roles.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, any other points that anyone wishes to raise or make? I can't see any more hands up. I can't see anyone waving at me. Okay, so look, I'm going to ask Councillor Barclay whether you can make some recommendations, and then we'll go on from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to thank the Scrutiny Commission for their rigorous examination of this item. It was very useful. We certainly did have a broad discussion. I propose recommendations 1 to 3 on page 37 for the reasons 1 to 3 on page 137.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I would like to second this item because I think it's so important to the council. Something I'm personally very, very passionate about. I am currently looking for an electric, all-electric car, so I'll become even more passionate very, very soon. Probably less so when it breaks down, if it ever breaks down. Hopefully Maserati don't make electric cars, in which case it'll be fine. But otherwise, I very much hope that we can move on with this. So I'm going to go through everyone else to see what your thoughts are. Councillor Barclay, are you happy for me to approve this on behalf of council?
Yeah, I'm for the proposal. I'm for the proposal, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Leader. Happy with the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harper-Davies.
Support the recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mercer.
Happy with the recommendation.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Poland.
Yeah, very happy with the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ratway.
Very happy to support the recommendations, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Councillor Smithovich.
Yes, happy to support, Leader.
Thank you very much. In that case, I will approve on behalf of Cabinet. Thank you very much for that. So item 10, Loughborough bid ballot. So 3 of us are going to drop out at this moment. Councillor Ratway, Councillor Boker, and myself, Councillor Morgan. So I'm going to pass over to Councillor Barclay, who will take this item. And then hopefully, Councillor, if you can somehow find a way of letting us know once you've finished the item, and then we'll come back in. Thank you.
I will do, Leader. Yeah. Okay, so this is the Loughborough Business Improvement District plan, which the bid board has put forward for approval by the business rate providers. There's about 500 businesses involved. We have to renew it every 5 years. It has had a history of great success in what is it achieved in the Loughborough for the Loughborough businesses. And we are very hopeful that it will be successful when it goes out for the ballot. I will pass over to Sylvia to see if she has any other comments to make.
Thank you, Councillor Barclay. Yes, it's just to say that it is under the bid regulations, the bid renewal proposer is actually obliged to advise the council on matters that will be included in the proposal. And this report really is a fulfilment of that requirement. Within the Cabinet report, it's basically set out on the pages of 220 to 223. And it goes through the aims of Loughborough, what they're aiming to do, which fit perfectly with the council's corporate objectives as well, about promoting the town centre, keeping it clean and safe, environmentally friendly, encouraging customers to visit, but also allowing businesses to prosper. The proposal also includes evidence of the survey and consultation, which is really important. You'll be pleased to know that basically on those surveys, 94% felt the bid was good value for money, and 90% thought the performance was excellent. So there is a good level of agreement with the bid businesses for this. The proposal also includes the renewal, the details of the proposal in terms of what the levy is, which is 1.5%, the exemptions, etc. And it also includes the statement of work. The business plan actually then sets out what they plan to do over the next 5 years. So I think the bid have provided us with the relevant information, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Sylvia. So I just have a look. Have I got any questions on this item? I can't see any hands going up. It is fairly straightforward. So if there are no further questions, I will make recommendations 1 and 2 on page 212 for the reasons 1 and 2 on page 212. I can have a seconder for that.
Deputy Leader, can I just be clear, that will be a recommendation to yourself as Deputy Leader to take the decision?
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, I although I did know that, I'd momentarily forgotten, so it my head on the block. Right, thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. Right, so I make those proposals. If I could have a second for that. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Poland. So we'll go through, and if everybody can indicate whether they're for or against. So I am for the proposal. Councillor Bailey.
For the proposal.
Councillor Boker is not here. Councillor Harper-Davies.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. I support the recommendations.
Councillor Mercer.
For the recommendations, Deputy
Councillor Poland.
Yeah, I support the recommendations, Deputy Leader.
Thank you. And Councillor Smidovich.
Yes, I support the recommendations.
Right, so that means everybody who is present is in favour. So I will be able to happily sign off that decision with impunity. Thank you very much. Now, how we're actually going to call the leader back, I do hope we manage it, because otherwise I'm taking the rest of the meeting. Oh, he's back already.
I'm back. Thank you very much, Councillor. So we are waiting for Councillor Ratway and Councillor Boker to come back. Oh, there we go. One down, one to go. Bingo. Right, we're all back. We're all back in the room. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're now on to item 11, which is the Capital Plan Amendment Report. Having just stopped speaking, Councillor Barclay is going to start speaking again. So we have Leslie Tansey, who's our Head of Financial Services, here to assist with the report. If I can go over to you, Councillor Barclay, to start with, and just introduce before we pass over to Leslie, if there's anything else that she needs to add. Otherwise, over to you, Councillor.
Right, thank you, Leader. This is a very straightforward report. The principal items in it are we're allocating 58,500 to the Leicestershire Police. This is funded by Section 106 monies specifically raised for police. So this is not coming from the taxpayer, even our Section 106 monies. There's been a reduction for the Outwards Visitor Centre and Cafe because the funding was not available. The disabilities facilities grants have gone up by 68,500 and planned building improvements by 3,000. Possibly the only other substantive item is the carry forward from 2020-21 to 22-23 of roughly 27 million, mainly in relation to the town deal, Loughborough University Science and Enterprise Park. And that really is it. I will just, I no longer, it's over, back to you, Leader, then.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Barclay. Leslie, is there anything else that you wish to add from what Councillor Barclay's just gone through?
Thank you, Councillor Barclay. Just to add that Appendix 2 on page 251, as Councillor Barclay said, lists all the amendments since the last amendment report. So it does go back from till December 2020, and it includes a large amount of slippage. What I can say is that the capital plan is formally monitored through finance and performance scrutiny on a quarterly basis, and the current plan will be reviewed formally. We'll be setting a new 3-year capital plan this autumn for 22 to 25. So the slippage and the plan itself will be thoroughly reviewed and brought to Cabinet on the 9th of December as a draft budget, but a draft new 3-year plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Leslie. Okay, look, we're going to open to any questions or queries about the paper. It's a pretty straightforward paper, hopefully, from what everyone's read. Likewise, Councillor Barclay and Leslie between them have explained where we are on it. Are there any points that anyone wishes to raise or any questions? Okay, look, I can't see any hands up. We are well experienced on capital plan amendment reports, so probably not too surprising. So I'm going to go back to Councillor Barclay and ask you whether you can make a recommendation, Councillor.
Thank you, Leader. I make recommendations 1 to 6 on page 246 for the reasons 1 to 6, pages 246 and 247.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. So you just faded in slightly there. So I'll just repeat, it's recommendations 1 to 6 for the reasons 1 to 6 on agenda pages 246 to 247. So lots of 6s there. Okay, that's great. And again, this is a recommendation for me to make on behalf of Cabinet. So I'm going to ask Councillor Smitovich whether you're happy to second this item.
Yes, I am very happy to second this item, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor. So again, I'm going to go through everyone. If you can verbally confirm that you are for the proposal so I can make it on your behalf, that would be great. So Councillor Barclay.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
For the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
Support the recommendations, Leader.
Councillor Mercer.
For, Leader.
Councillor Poland.
For the recommendations, Leader.
Councillor Ratway.
Happy to support the recommendations, Leader.
And then finally, Councillor Smitovich.
Yes, for the recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor. So look, that's everyone. I will make that approval on behalf of Cabinet. Thank you very much. So we're now on to item 12, which is the Rothley Centre, section 106 refurbishment item. We have with us this evening Justin Henry, who's our Strategic Director of Commercial Development, Assets and Leisure, to assist with the report. We also have Councillor Barclay, who's the relevant lead member on this one. So if I can quickly go over to you, Councillor Barclay, to introduce the item. And then if there's anything else that Justin wishes to add, then he can do. Obviously, the report is as it is. And then we can open up for any discussions. Over to you, Councillor Barclay.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader. In a nutshell, we have £367,000 worth of Section 106 money, which we have to utilise by April 2023 to refurbish the Rothley Centre. We are assisting Rothley Parish Council, who are in full agreement with what we're doing, but we are project managing it and taking it back for them as it's rather a large project and we don't want the money to go to waste. The centre itself certainly does need refurbishment, and we will manage the project through to the end. And that's in summary what it's about.
Okay, thank you very much. Justin, is there anything that you wish to add?
Thank you, Leader, but no, I think Councillor Barclay has summed it up quite well.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm looking for queues open for any questions. Can I ask sort of question stroke sort of statement really for Justin? I mean, we've obviously only got a couple of years left to make sure that this money is actually spent. Where it's been with the parish council for a while now, but not been spent. The last thing we ever want to do with Section 106 money is have to hand it back to the developer. So given in building terms, 2 years disappears pretty quickly, especially at the moment, getting contractors and everything else, costs rising. We know that you know, probably the money will go less far than it would have done 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm just asking a question: what are we going to do to manage to make sure that this actually gets spent in Rothley for the right reasons and within the timescale that we know we're working to?
Certainly, thank you, Leader. We've already taken proactive steps to engage in conversations with consultants and the contractors that have been engaged on the site to start to plan to move that forward at pace in anticipation of this decision, of course. In that we certainly don't want to be handing back Section 106 money. We want that to go for its intended benefit, and we want to realize that. We're confident that we can deliver the project within the 2-year time limit remaining. It's certainly a case of saying, given the level of spend, we need to take it back through cabinet. It's a key decision with everybody's authority to go ahead and spend that money. But the project, the plan, the contractors, the consultants involved are all conversing with us and anticipating our direct control of the project.
Okay, thank you. That's giving me a bit of reassurance. Thank you very much for that. A couple of hands have gone up. Councillor Ratway.
Thank you. Just kind of following on from the comments just said there, have we got an agreement with the parish that if costs do escalate, that the costs fall on the parish and not on the borough? I know previously with the project in Birstall with Section 106 money, the actual one, it was a build rather than a refurbishment, but the final build costs were significantly more than the Section 106 agreement, and obviously that came out of parish council funding. I just want to be assured that the funding is going to come from Rothley Parish rather than from Charnwood.
Thank you, Councillor Rattray. From that perspective, we've already performed a level of value engineering, if you like, in the project recently, i.e. within the last 4 to 6 weeks, with the contractor to anticipate increasing costs and issues. There is a hard stop on the level of money to be spent. And from that perspective, there will be elements that fall out of the project if that buffer is reached. But the project will be actively managed in a proper, in a professional project management approach. So we will be on top of it, and we shouldn't be surprised by what transpires.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Councillor Boland, you've got your hand up as well.
Thank you. Yeah, a bit of, again, a follow on just information really. At what point does the at what point are we past the point where we have to hand the money back? Is it from the point we sign the contract to get the work done? Is it the point that it's finished? Is it more of a rolling thing? I'm just not sure how that works.
Councillor Poland, there's a specified time frame in which the money must be spent. Therefore, the project must be done before that particular point. Otherwise, it's then passed back. So we are working to that end date. The 2 years that the leader referenced earlier is the approximate remaining time period now, and the project will be delivered within that time frame.
I just totally apologize if I can just clarify that point. So if it gets to 2 years and we're not finished, but we've already paid them, do we then pay them only? Do we get to keep the amount that we've spent? You know what I mean? Is it like a race against the clock thing, or is it that, right, we signed the contract, we paid the money, and then the money's paid, you see what I mean? Even if the work isn't actually finished at that point.
Whilst time is imperative, we have plenty of time within that, given the fact that we've already engaged the contractors and the consultants involved to deliver that inside the window. But from that perspective, we'll be reviewing stage payments for completion on elements such that we can effectively cross items off the list as they are complete, but not foregoing our kind of warranties or snagging rights, if you like.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, no more hands up. So in which case, if I can go back to Councillor Barclay to make the recommendations.
Thank you, Leader. I make recommendations 1 to 3 on page 256 for the reasons 1 to 3 on page 256.
Thank you very much. And again, those are recommendations to me to make the decision on behalf of Cabinet. So I'm going to ask Councillor Bailey whether you would like to second this item.
Thank you, Leader. I am happy to second this item.
Thank you very much, Councillor. So I'm going to go through everyone. If you could say whether you are for the proposal, and if you are, then I will make the decision on your behalf. So Councillor Barclay.
I'm for the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
For, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
Happy to support the recommendations, Leader.
Councillor Mercer.
For, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Poland.
For, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ratway.
Happy to support the recommendations, Leader.
And then finally, Councillor Smilovich.
Yes, support the recommendations, Leader.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much to everyone. I will make the recommendation in favour on your behalf. So we now go on to the last 3 items. So we've got the feasibility work for new council officers, which also has a scrutiny commission report. This is item 13. So Councillor Seaton, yes, your last one for the night. Hopefully you're still there. And I'm going to ask you to present your scrutiny commission report before there are any questions of clarity that will be asked to you about the report. So, Councillor Seaton, over to you. You're on mute, Councillor.
On mute. Right, I'm using a different technology now. I'm on my phone. For the first time I've done it because I'm now at Churchill School for the governor's meeting. So I've got no other comments. Please take it as read. The Commission has noted the report and recommends that it should be supported by the Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Are there any questions of clarity before Councillor Seaton gets back to her governor's meeting? No questions of clarity, in which case, Councillor, pass on our thanks to the Scrutiny Commission and give our love to the governing body. Okay, take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so we have clearly had a briefing about this item. The report is pretty thorough. We understand that this is about exploring options as part of our sort of analysis of all the different options as one of the potential options, and to make sure that we have all of the information that will hopefully enable us to pick an appropriate option. It's about doing a bit of research on this particular site to make sure that there aren't any horrors that we should know about. Or anything that will help us to narrow down the sort of cost options on any build, etc. on that particular site. As I said, it's all about making sure that we've got the right level of information to enable us to actually make an educated and informed decision when it eventually comes back to Cabinet on the consideration of the options before us. This is not about making a decision purely on this site. This is about enabling us to actually have more information to enable us to actually make a better informed decision when it comes to looking at the options. So, Justin, Henry, you're obviously here. Justin, is there anything that you wish to add that either draw out of the report or add to anything that I've just said?
Really, just to reiterate, Leader, that this is an iterative process, as you say. It is not a foregone conclusion that this is actually happening. We need to understand all the pieces of information, no matter how exciting it might be to think about something new. We still need to continue to build the business case, and this is about making sure that we're doing that with as much information as possible, and providing value for money and doing the right thing in that respect. And again, any further decisions or findings will come through the appropriate governance, come back to Cabinet for discussion at that particular point, either through briefings or official meetings or both.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, are there any questions that anyone wishes to raise or any other points to make? No other hands going up, so that's fine. Okay, look, In that case, we will go to the recommendations. We have the officer recommendations 1 and 2 for the reasons given 1 and 2 on agenda page 292. Obviously noting the Scrutiny Commission's support for this item through the comments in the report, but also given by Councillor Seaton. So again, this is a recommendation to Mead as leader to make the decision on Cabinet's behalf. I'm going to ask Councillor Boker whether you're happy to second this item.
I am, leader, because I fully support this proposal to find a new site for our council offices.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. So I'm going to ask all of you whether you are for the proposal, and that will enable me to make a decision on behalf of Cabinet. So Councillor Barclay.
I'm for the proposal, leader.
Councillor Bailey.
For, leader.
Councillor Boker.
For, leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies. You're on mute, Councillor.
I support the recommendations, leader.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Mercer.
For, leader.
Councillor Poland.
For, leader.
Councillor Rattray.
Yes, I support the recommendations, leader.
Thank you. Councillor Smitovich.
Yes, support the recommendations, leader.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's everyone in favour. So I will make the recommendation in favour on your behalf. Thank you very much. Finally, second from last, item 14, the amendments to the annual procurement plan. We have Justin Henry still with us. The lead member for this item is Councillor Barclay. So I'm going to go over to Councillor Barclay to briefly introduce this item and then go back to Justin and see if there are any additional points that he wishes to make. So over to you, Councillor Barclay.
Thank you, leader. At the beginning of the year, all the procurement contracts that were known to us are put before Cabinet and agreed. This is purely an update amendment to update it. You will see that we have 3 items which relate to the various Afghan resettlement schemes, 1 for housing needs, and these are all between 25,000 and 75,000, and we have 1 contract for housing needs which is between 75,000 and less than 500,000, relating to supported accommodation for homeless households. It is really as straightforward as that. It's just keeping us updated, and it's the reason behind the schemes are very, very worthwhile and understandable.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. Justin, is there anything that you wish to add on that?
Just to add for the benefit of members that you'll note in the appendix that there is not a typo. There are 2 lines where the procurement has started prior to this decision being taken, and that was on the basis of urgency, and I approved those waivers as the contract monitoring officer.
Yeah, quite understandable. Thank you. Are there any questions that anyone wishes to raise or put to Justin about this item? Okay, no hands up. Again, pretty thorough item. We've discussed it. Quite understand where we are on this. So thank you very much for that. So I'm going to ask Councillor Barclay whether you can make the recommendation for me to make the decision on your behalf, Cabinet's behalf. Over to you, Councillor Barclay.
Thank you. So I make recommendations 1 and 2 on page 297 for the reason to allow the contracts of the council to be let in accordance with the contract procedure rules.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Mercer, can I ask you to second?
I'm happy to second, leader.
You are
muted, leader.
There we go. Everyone managed to unmute quicker than I did. Well done. That was almost in unison. Okay, thank you very much. Gosh, it's oh gosh, it's technology. Thank goodness we don't have to use it as much. Right, so I'm going to ask all of you in turn, rather than all at once, to give your approval, whether you're for this proposal, and then I can make the decision on your behalf. Councillor Barclay.
I'm for the proposal.
Councillor Bailey.
For leader.
Councillor Boker.
For leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
Support the recommendations.
Councillor Mercer.
For leader.
Councillor Poland.
For leader.
Councillor Rattray.
Happy to support the recommendation, leader.
Thank you. And then finally, Councillor Spivot.
Yes, for leader.
Thank you very much. Okay, I will make the decision in favour on your behalf. Thank you very much. And then we're finally on to last item of the evening, item 15, customer services strategy for 2022 to 2027. Thank you very much, Kerry, for staying with us. You probably wondering why on earth your item was put at the end. We always reserve the best items to the end. So hopefully you'll get some good questions. So look, Kerry Barnshaw, who's the head of customer experience. Kerry's stayed with us and she's ready for any questions. Likewise, this item would normally be introduced by Councillor Rollings, but he's away this evening. So Councillor Barclay stepped in and will introduce this item on his behalf. So over to you, Councillor Barclay.
Thank you, Leader. As you all know, we have a very high customer service score. We've been recently reaccredited under the Customer Service Excellence Scheme, and we've rated good or excellent by 90 to 95% of the customers who are coming into contact with us. The pandemic has obviously changed things quite a lot. The way customers are interacting with us are changing all the time. The statistics within the report confirm this. One thing that we do acknowledge, there will always be customers who are not digitally aware or competent, and we will make allowances so that we can serve the whole of the Charnwood Borough Council residents efficiently and fairly. But during the pandemic, it became very noticeable how much more interaction there was online rather than face-to-face, and also the drop in the number of telephone calls coming through. So there really is, this is driven by a shift in generations and a need to be efficient to keep pace with the modern world. You've seen a couple of items come through: a refreshed website, new technology, phone technology, and online booking systems. And Kerry has done an outstanding job in pulling this all together. That's a very brief summary. I won't take away from the work she's done, and I will let her explain anything else.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Over to you, Kerry, if there's some additional points you wish to add.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Councillor Barclay's covered most of it. I think really from my side, I just want to reiterate, this is our commitment to our customers for the next 3 years. As Councillor Barclay said, there has been a significant change as a result of the pandemic, and we have seen a real drive for customers to utilise new technology, just as we're using this evening, and also an increase in their capability to use digital methods of communication. And we really want to obviously maximise the opportunity that creates. We have got our own challenges across the organisation, so we do have a significant financial challenge. We have the opportunity of new technology and the opportunity of customers' behaviours and change. But whilst we are saying that, as Councillor Barclay has alluded, we are aware that there will always be customers that can't use this technology or don't want to. So within the strategy, it does talk about how we can ensure that we include people within our digital activities, but also how we're going to support those customers that can't do that. And I think what's really important to consider is the new and emerging technologies that we see: artificial intelligence, robotic processing, automation, and further digitisations of our services. What we need to consider is those as tools that can enhance and complement the services that we already deliver, whilst also remembering the importance and the benefit of in-person human interaction for those customers that really do need it. And finally, I think it's important to say this is a whole organisation approach. Customer services isn't a responsibility of a single team. It's a responsibility of every officer to consider how they can build really positive and effective relationships with our customers. And it's not just always about process and transaction. There's an awful lot of emotion that goes into dealing with our customers. We deal with them at some of the most difficult points of their life. And I don't think we can take away from that when we are talking about digitisation, automation, cutting costs. We do have to remember that what we're here to do is serve the members of our community and make things as easy as possible for them at all stages of their life. And then just finally, within the strategy, there is an ambitious programme of activities that will try and help deliver the principles and the objectives of this strategy. So obviously open to any questions.
Thank you very much, Kerry. Very well said as well. Very important points to keep on reminding everyone. So we've got a hand up already. Councillor Ratway.
Thank you. It's more a comment really than a question. It's just on the importance of customer service. I think we've all experienced bad customer service and good customer service, and receiving good customer service in a situation where you've potentially had a problem can actually turn what could be a negative situation actually into a positive impression when they leave. So I think it's such an important thing for any organisation is to have excellent customer service. And I think the policy that's been brought forward today just shows a really robust and modernised approach for us going forward. So I'm really pleased to see it.
Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. And I have to say, over the last 18 months, I mean, when it has been a period of extreme stress for many businesses and individuals within the borough, it has been amazing actually how many times all of us, I think, have had notes or comments from residents and businesses praising, in particular, Kerry's team, but also Leslie's team for being able to actually support. So absolutely, periods of stress in particular stand out as moments when just having good customer relations and support makes a huge difference, and it has done for so many people. So absolutely agree with that. So look, are there any other points that anyone wishes to raise? Okay, look, it's a really good strategy, sets out what we're doing, what we're going to be doing, built on an incredibly good set of reports and track record. And clearly, we're moving in different pathways, probably a lot quicker than we probably ever anticipated a few years ago. And as Kerry said, still absolutely sticking to the principles. And as Councillor Ratway has just reminded us of good customer relations and service making a huge difference. So having the right strategy to support that is absolutely critical, and this really sets that out. So thank you very much for all the work that's gone into this. Really appreciate it. So if I can go back to Councillor Barclay to make the recommendation, and then I know Councillor Ratway would like to second. So back to you, Councillor Barclay.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Kerry, for the report. And I would say residents have actually said to me what excellent customer service they do get, and that was completely unprompted. So the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and you can see from the level of customer satisfaction, it's excellent, and there's no other way to say it. The recommendation that is it is recommended to Council that the Customer Services Strategy 2022 to 2025, as set out in appendix to the report, be approved for the reason to identify the priorities against which the Council will seek to maintain and enhance our customer service capabilities over the period 2022 to 2025.
Okay, thank you very much. And if I can ask Councillor Ratway to second.
Yeah, very happy to second that one, Leader.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, this will be a recommendation to me to make a decision on your behalf to then send this item to Council. So I'm going to ask each of you if you are for the proposal as set out. Councillor Barclay.
I'm for the proposal, Leader.
Councillor Bailey.
For, Leader.
Councillor Boker.
For, Leader.
Councillor Harper-Davies.
Support the recommendations, Leader.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mercer.
For, Leader.
Councillor Poland.
For, Leader.
Councillor Ratway.
Happy to support the recommendation, Leader.
Thank you very much. And finally, Councillor Smitovich.
Yes, for the recommendation, Leader.
Thank you very much. I think your lighting is almost as good a quality as mine actually tonight, Councillor. We are slowly disappearing into the murk, aren't we?
That's the idea.
Okay, look, that item is approved or agreed for approval. I will make the decision on Cabinet's behalf. thank you very much. It's been quite a long cabinet, slightly unusual doing it back online again as an informal. I will obviously make all those recommendations in line with your approvals this evening. Thank you very much, particularly to our officer team, particularly those who have stayed to the end of this meeting, but also those who fielded some pretty important subjects earlier on. So good night. Take care.